A new lawsuit has been filed that includes both CM Punk and AEW president and founder Tony Khan. This new lawsuit is really shaking things up, causing a stir in the professional wrestling world, and everyone's asking the question, what the hell is going on? It does seem like Tony Khan and CM Punk are headed to a courtroom, but it is not against each other. Nay, in fact, they are actually being sued by another party, that being Ryan Nemeth. Of course, you may know him as the brother of the former Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth. There's a lot going on with this situation. We are going to talk about it. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the case, and we're going to answer the big question, what the hell does all of this mean for the professional wrestling side of things when it comes to AEW and CM Punk? All that and much more coming up right here in this video, so be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. So it was announced this past weekend that a lawsuit had been filed. The report came courtesy of Fightful.com that Ryan Nemeth was indeed filing a suit against AEW, Tony Khan, and Phil Brooks, of course, widely known as CM Punk, for allegedly, and again, this is according to Ryan Nemeth, he is actually pursuing punitive damages as well as other damages, in this case, alleging that he was essentially pushed out of AEW in bad faith. We're going to take a look at the actual article that Jeremy Lambert actually posted here. The lawsuit alleges assault, breach of contract, breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, and intentional interference with prospective advantages. Nemeth claims in this, by the way, that he was actually cost opportunities because of the way his name was essentially dragged with this whole situation. You may remember, just quickly, the previous altercation or backstage incident, whatever we want to call it, that took place in the summer of 2023. This was in a lead up to All In. This is right when Collision first started, where Ryan Nemeth was essentially told by CM Punk to leave the building, and that was because of the association or the perceived association that Nemeth had with Matt, Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks and company, who of course have been very adversarial between them and CM Punk. Anyway, back to the piece. There's a lot that they kind of establish here with who the parties are, as well as noting things like the altercation at All Out a couple of years ago. But I'm going to get to the actual part that I think is the meat of this. I want to also qualify, I am not a lawyer, but I am a professional wrestling commentator, so I'm going to do my best to kind of break down what this means. All right, so if we look at point 18 here, listed from the lawsuit in this Fightful.com report, 18, during his suspension, that is CM Punk's suspension, for unknown reasons, Brooks made it known that he despised Nemeth. Nemeth did nothing to Brooks whatsoever, but Brooks made it well known that he was angry with Nemeth. Brooks has a notorious history for taking violent action against others for no reason. And again, this is calling back to the history of CM Punk fighting with the Young Bucks. And of course, it happened before the Ryan Nemeth incident, or after the Ryan Nemeth incident, but there was also the incident with Jack Perry at All In, which I'm sure is going to play into the narrative here at some point. On April 16th, 2023, Nemeth contacted executives within AEW to tell his employer that he was worried Brooks would come back to the wrestling circuit following his suspension and assault Nemeth. So this is interesting. This is new information. Nemeth claimed that as far ahead as April, that he was worried that Punk was going to do something. This is new information. It's not something that has really been disclosed, and it is interesting considering what else is in this. On June 21st, 2023, following Brooks' return to the wrestling circuit, he assaulted Nemeth in a male talent locker room. In a menacing manner, Brooks shouted at Nemeth, "Do we have a fucking problem?" Do we need to step outside and handle this like men? Nemeth was cornered by Brooks and did everything he could in order to de-escalate the situation. 21. The next day, Nemeth was contacted by Tony Schiavone and other executives from AEW to explain what happened. Nemeth calmly and factually explained that he was attacked by Brooks in the locker room. 22. Following the assault, nothing happened to Brooks as far as punishment for AEW. So we're going to get into kind of what happened after this incident, and this was the alleged incident where, Punk cornered Ryan Nemeth and basically told him, like, we have a problem. Are we cool? What's going on? And Nemeth seems to frame this in a way that essentially says that he was assaulted. I will note that not in this piece here does it say that Phil Brooks literally physically attacked Ryan Nemeth. To my knowledge, that was not reported in anything that I read. Could that have been the case? Was it more of a verbal assault? Definitely. And I certainly don't doubt that there is a case where Ryan Nemeth was threatened. That's very well possible. And that could be what they're kind of playing into here. It goes on to say, 23, it is well known in the wrestling industry that benching a wrestler is a form of punishment. That is, the wrestling performer is not scheduled for a match and thus is not paid. Benching a wrestler is a customary manner of punishing a wrestler. 24, following the incident with Brooks, Nemeth greatly feared being benched by AEW. Nemeth spoke with AEW's in-house counsel and attorneys from Latham and Watkins, outside counsel for AEW. All of the attorneys promised that Nemeth would not be benched. All right, so this gets into the idea of benching. Of course, we have seen in different ways AEW talent and talent across like the wrestling industry get benched for one reason or another. It certainly was the case with Ricky Starks, obviously for very different reasons or seemingly for different reasons. We also are seeing that play out with the likes of Ray Phoenix. So, again, the benching thing is totally valid and is certainly a thing that can happen to wrestlers if indeed you fall out of favor with the company or the situation for whatever reason becomes untenable. Goes on to say, point 24. Following his June 2022 conversation with Tony Schiavone et al., Nemeth was not booked for a match for over 2 months. 26. Because Nemeth was not booked for matches, his income stream from AEW dried up. More importantly, his popularity and marketability faded from being absent from the professional wrestling circuit. On June 17th, 2023, Nemeth again contacted AEW legal department to complain that he was being punished for doing nothing. It was then that Nemeth discovered the real reason why he was being benched. Brooks had insisted upon it. Now, this is a pretty big allegation from Ryan Nemeth. He essentially says here and claims here that Phil Brooks, CM Punk, was behind him being benched, him losing dates, him losing the ability to wrestle and make money with AEW. Now, how believable or whatever this is, we'll actually get into more of Nemeth's claims in a minute, but it is well known that Collision was, in many ways, CM Punk's baby, both in his words and in the reports that we've read about how that whole thing initially came together. So he would have a bit of sway on that program specifically. And it's also well known that, of course, Tony Khan has an affinity for Phil Brooks and CM Punk, which they even noted earlier on in a separate part of this claim. Goes on to say, 28, because Tony Khan, actually it goes on to say right here, because Tony Khan had such a deep admiration for Brooks, bordering an obsession, that's, damn. That's wild. Bordering an obsession, Khan went along with Brooks' desires to ruin Nemeth's career. 29. On August 12, 2023, Nemeth was finally booked for an event in Greensboro, North Carolina. 30. On the morning of August 12th, Nemeth was walking through the hotel lobby to board a shuttle to the sports arena where the wrestling match would take place. He saw Brooks. Brooks immediately took out his phone and began to text 31. A moment after that text was sent, Nemeth received a text from AEW supervisor Pat Buck saying that he needed to speak with Nemeth as soon as he got to the arena. 32. Upon arriving to the arena, Nemeth sought out Pat Buck. Buck told Nemeth that he needed to leave the arena immediately and that travel would be arranged for him to fly out on the same day. 33. Nemeth was embarrassed and humiliated in front of other wrestlers who witnessed him being kicked out of the arena. More importantly, fans observed him leaving the arena. Pictures were taken, and the explosion became viral on social media. This humiliation caused irreparable damage to the marketability and reputation of Nemeth, is what I think it's supposed to say here. 34, the entire episode was arranged by Brooks. Brooks demanded that Nemeth be told to leave, and then he would be flown out of Greensboro immediately. Khan, for his part, went along with Brooks out of his deep admiration. All right, so there's one last part there that we're going to read, but there it is. I mean, Nemeth essentially stating the entire claim of this lawsuit that Punk, AEW, for whatever reason, they took Nemeth out of the arena that night in Greensboro. Fans witnessed it. It became a major story. We talked about it here. We talked about it everywhere on social media. Everyone talked about it. And for that reason, Ryan Nemeth forever became associated with this incident in a negative connotation. And that hurt his marketability. It hurt his ability to make money. And it hurt, at the end of the day, his standing in all elite wrestling and with the fans. All of which have compounding impact on each other. So that is kind of the crux, I think, of the claim here for Nemeth. He's saying that, look, this thing is what I'm known for now. Instead of my wrestling ability, instead of everything else, this thing that was out of my control, that I believe was orchestrated in some fashion, this is the reason why, I am not as big a star as I would be. That's at least the claim here. Last couple parts here that we're going to read. On August 15th, 2023, Nemeth contacted AEW's legal group and complained about being ejected from the event at the direction of Brooks. AEW lawyers were themselves stunned and could offer no explanation for the conduct of Brooks and Khan. 36, on November 18th, 2024, Nemeth wrestled for the last time for AEW. 37, Nemeth continued to follow up with the AEW's legal department in the hope of trying to resolve the situation and to avoid further conflict. In a bizarre email, AEW attorney Chris Peck reached out and threatened legal action against Nemeth and accused him of employing a ghostwriter in his emails. On November 25th, 2024, Brooks left AEW to wrestle for the organization's main competitor, WWE. 39, and this is the... Definitely use the ghostwriter here, or at least a lawyer. A funny lawyer, I will say. 39, Khan was heartbroken by the departure of Brooks, his idol, and that he adored in every way. 40, Khan was furious with Nemeth. Khan believes that Brooks left AEW because of Nemeth. The defendants have embarked upon a campaign to blackball Nemeth from professional wrestling. Specifically, Tony Khan blames Nemeth for Brooks leaving AEW and used the significant resources to make sure that Nemeth could never again make a living in wrestling. The conduct of each of the defendants is malicious, and that defendants intended to cause injury to the plaintiff. Defendants acted willfully and with a conscience disregard for rights of the plaintiff. Hard time reading today, I will say. Closes out here, obviously noting that currently Nemeth is indeed with TNA Wrestling, where his brother wrestles, and that he is seeking compensatory damages as well as punitive and demands a jury trial. We got our way through that. Now, of course, these are major claims by Ryan Nemeth, and I am not going to necessarily speak to the degree to which his career was ruined by these allegations. I'm not going to speak to the degree that where this conduct, was it right or wrong or whatever here. What I will say, though, is this. It is clear that Ryan Nemeth believes that AEW and Tony Khan and CM Punk, that they treated him unfairly. And in my view, I think that claim is probably accurate. I think that in many ways, Nemeth may have been a kind of victim of circumstance in that way. And it was one of those things where he just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and he got all the blowback from it. Now, do I believe that Tony Khan wholeheartedly believes that Ryan Nemeth is the sole reason that CM Punk is not in AEW? I would hope not, because it's not true. It's not just the Ryan Nemeth thing. I would say Ryan Nemeth is more of a symbol of what was wrong there. I think CM Punk made it clear. And we had heard reports and rumblings that he had asked for a release, that he didn't want to be there. This is even prior to Brawl Out, that he was not happy with some of the things that were going on in AEW in a major way. So I think to state that, like, oh, Ryan Nemeth was the reason that Punk is there. No. You could make an argument that Jack Perry was like the last straw that broke the camel's back there. And we know that there have been reports that Khan wasn't initially happy with Jack Perry after that incident. You could say that the Young Bucks, that the Elite, that Hangman Page probably played more of a part in this than Ryan Nemeth. You could even say that CM Punk just didn't want to be there. And by his own admission, he did not. He didn't even want to be a part of Collision. He just couldn't get out of his contract. As far as what this means, I mean, look, it is it's a pretty major like thing. Like, obviously, like, there's a lot of like lawsuits going on in professional wrestling right now. I would put this, I'm not, and this is not to make this less serious than you know, whatever it is. Of course, this is going to be heard by a judge at some point, and it's going to move forward. But you know, I mean, like, as far as like the lawsuits go, like, you have this, the Ring Boy lawsuit, the Janelle Grant lawsuit, and whatever other litigation perhaps may be coming Vince McMahon's way. And, you know, I mean, like I would put this, like, this is serious for AEW for sure. They also have another lawsuit themselves with the Boys and Kevin Kelly that is, I believe, still waiting to move forward. So, but you know, like I would say for AEW, this is serious. Like, in the grand scheme of things, like, I think definitely like the things that deal with issues like abuse and assault and whatnot are certainly serious. And look, there is, like, again, not physical assault, I believe. I may have read this wrong, but mentioned here, but definitely Nemeth felt like he was threatened by Punk, and that's what ended up leading him to leave AEW. We will see what happens. I don't think you will see Tony Khan and CM Punk doing a joint interview or releasing a joint statement anytime soon. I don't think that this is going to majorly affect plans for either person or company or whatever. I think it's going to move forward. Odds are this ends up being settled. Probably. Odds are it ends up being settled and then it just kind of goes away. But we'll stick with it. We'll let you guys know exactly what the updates are as they come. We got daily wrestling videos every single day right here, courtesy of Omer Q and Real Take Wrestling. Be sure to leave that thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever new videos released. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this case, about this suit, about this entire situation. I want to hear from you. And until next time, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.